We're rolling. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Book Study from the Key to Theosophy, number 20. Can you see the steam off of Eddie? This is Eddie the mug. But anyway, I wanted to come on and be a little bit more casual with you on these book studies as I'm learning lighting and cameras and angles and all that in the new world. I'm a former radio and television broadcaster, and I now voice these ancient teachings. I'm simply a dedicated student, a companion. Somebody wrote in on one of these videos, and it was a brilliant word, a companion, not a teacher, because the platform that these teachings are to be taught from are meant for the teachings, not one who shares them with you. You cannot get these from someone else. They do not belong to them and then you pay them money and then you get them. They're inside you. And through the application of these teachings, hang on, let me take a sip of Eddie. Well, the tea with an Eddie. The reason I say Eddie, this is a potter out of Glastonbury, California. I'm from California, Glastonbury, UK. I now live in the United Kingdom, and everybody loves this mug. So Eddie Doughton, Daughton. I shall tag him in this. Hang on. That's nice. Okay. So yes, the platform from which these teachings are to be taught from are meant for the teachings, not the teacher. And these New Age gurus and organizations and religions all through the ages, it is a crime of all time to prey on the vulnerable and ask them for money to give them spiritual salvation. It is within you, it is free, and they should always remain free. So by you sharing these teachings, these are just book studies, you become them, then you go on and you teach or share or be a companion, whatever you want to do. But if you become them, you align yourself inside and you are true to yourself and you overcome yourself and your bad habits and you become more light, and then these teachings will become more clear. And then you can become them and affect those around you. And by contagion, like a candle, there's a candlestick here, okay? Like a candle lighting a flame, you're not the flame, you're one of many, all right? And by sharing your light with others, they then can share them with people. And that's the whole point of what we do here on Living Theosophy. We have changed the name. I say we, it is just me, and it's getting very, very busy. And so the blog is behind and some other things are behind. The website has been recreated. It's beautiful. There are still links that need to be done. But I thought that was more appropriate because the name Living Theosophy is more appropriate than Yogi Theosophy. Because if I was to say one thing on my deathbed, if I was to have a deathbed, or what would go through my mind, if I had a moment to say one thing before I exited this life, it is become the teachings of Theosophy. So Living Theosophy is far more appropriate. And basically the fundamental part of all of this is this, coexisting. So on this planet, here, I see this planet, Earth, where we live, we have over 4,000 religions, at least. And of those 4,000 of Christianity, there's like 10,000 different branches. So, and we all fight with each other. So this coexists right here. This is part of it, but there's so much more. If you want to learn about astral beings, if you want to learn about ghosts or past lives, if you want to learn about even psychology. I've been studying psychopathy and the multiple personality disorders, which is now called something else. It's been renamed. But anyway, there's a lot of things that can be explained through the teachings in these theosophical texts. Behind me, you see the Secret Doctrine. That is just one of them. There are 2 volumes, Cosmogenesis, Anthropogenesis. This is a very daunting text, and a lot of people try to read it with their intellectual mind. But if it is read with the intellectual mind, I don't think it goes through that way. You read with your heart, and you become these teachings. You digest them slowly and in pieces. There are other texts that can introduce you to these textbooks for humanity, if you will. Light on the Path is one here. I do live book studies of Light on the Path. The Voice of the Silence. The Voice of the Silence. If the suffering of humanity touches you in a way where you feel maybe you might be empathic or whatever the word you want to call it, if you feel the suffering of other beings and you wish to be of service in some way, that's why I'm here, because I don't know what else to do. This ticks the box and helps me figure out what to do. And I would highly recommend taking a look at the Voice of the Silence. There are free downloads of Light on the Path, Voice of the Silence, and that one which is now glaring, that is Yogi Philosophy, which is the 14 lessons in Yogi philosophy and Oriental occultism. There are free downloads on the Living Theosophy website. So go to the free ebook section and you can download them. You can also go to the YouTube channel where you're watching this, and they are voiced. Or if you'd like to support what is being done here on Living Theosophy, and I would love that if you could, every single penny goes back into the business to be able to continue to share these teachings all over the world and keep them free. That's what's important. They must always remain free, which is difficult as a business, since I have left all other avenues of income, and I do this full time. I believe this is far more important than the voiceovers or the radio that I did. This is all a labor of love. So let's get to it, because I know I've been 6 minutes already. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the key to Theosophy. Okay, there's a link to the original text in this video. This was written about 130 years ago. It is in question and answer form. And I believe this is a good way to begin if you are interested at all in the teachings of Theosophy. Theos meaning gods, Sophia meaning wisdom. The New Age movement is cherry-picked from this particular, these are ancient teachings. They are archaic, really, that's a good word. They date back before the organized religions of today. They are also known as the mysteries, if you will, or perhaps you can find in the Bhagavad Gita, many of the religious texts. It's like omnism. What we say is that all of the religions have some of the truth, but not one religion has all of the truth. That is, that's close to. So let's go. Here we go. Okay. We continue in section 5 of the Key to Theosophy on page 75. Through to the top of 77 on the source of the human soul. And this is from the original text, The Fundamental Teachings of Theosophy, in here. And this is on God and prayer. And I do have some letters from you that are coming in. I'm going to get to those, that people are wanting to talk more about this. And this channel, hopefully I'll be able to do more things. It's really just evolving, and I just show up to work. So I've made some playlists for you, the Voice of the Silence and the Light on the Path book studies, things like that. So yes, it's getting there, and it's really just me. So thank you. Any help that you can offer, I'm open to suggestion. Okay. Inquirer. So it's written in question and answer form. The Inquirer asks then, and it was written down by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, but Theosophy is not a worship of this woman who, by her own admission, says she's a scribe. Okay. How then do you account for man being endowed with a spirit and soul? Whence these? Where are these? Theosophist. From the universal soul. Certainly not bestowed by a personal God. Whence the moist element in the jellyfish? Whence? Where did it come from? From the ocean which surrounds it, in which it lives and breathes, and whither it returns when dissolved. Inquirer. So you reject the teaching that soul is given or breathed into man by God? Theosophist. We are obliged to. The soul spoken of in chapter 2, Genesis, verse 7, which says, and I'm getting this from the King James Version, and the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So in that chapter, that verse, as therein stated, the living soul, or nephesh, which is the vital animal soul, with which God, and with God we mean nature and immutable law, endows man like every animal. It is not the thinking soul or mind, and least of all is it the immortal spirit. Inquirer. Well, let us put it otherwise. Is it God who endows man with a human rational soul and immortal spirit? Theosophist. Again, in the way you put the question, we must object to it. Since we believe in no personal God, how can we believe that he endows man with anything? But granting, for the sake of argument, a God who takes upon himself the risk of creating a new soul for every newborn baby, all that can be said is that such a God can hardly be regarded as himself endowed with any wisdom or prevision, which means foresight. Certain other difficulties and the impossibility of reconciling this with the claims made for the mercy, justice, equity, and omniscience of that God are so many deadly reefs on which this theological dogma is daily and hourly broken. Inquirer, what do you mean? What difficulties? Theosophist, I am thinking of an unanswerable argument offered once in my presence by a Sinhalese, which is an archaic spelling of Sinhalese, a person from northern India, now Sri Lanka, a Buddhist priest, a famous preacher, to a Christian missionary, one in no way ignorant or unprepared for the public discussion during which it was advanced. It was near Colombo, and the missionary had challenged the priest, Megatavati, to give his reasons why the Christian God should not be accepted by this heathen. Well, the missionary came out of that ever-memorable discussion second best, as usual. Inquirer, I should be glad to learn in what way. Theosophist, simply this. The Buddhist priest premised by asking the padre whether his God had given commandments to Moses only for men to keep, but to be broken by God himself. The missionary denied this supposition indignantly. Well, said his opponent, you tell us that God makes no exceptions to this rule, and that no soul can be born without his will. Now, God forbids adultery, among other things, and yet you say in the same breath that it is he who creates every baby born, and he who endows it with a soul. Are we then to understand that the millions of children born in crime and adultery are your God's work? That your God forbids and punishes the breaking of his laws, and that nevertheless he creates daily and hourly souls for just such children? According to the simplest logic, your God is an accomplice in the crime, since but for his help and interference no such children of lust could be born. Where is the justice of punishing not only the guilty parents, but even the innocent babe for that which is done by that very God, whom you exonerate from any guilt himself? The missionary looked at his watch and suddenly found it was getting too late for further discussion. Inquirer, you forget that all such inexplicable cases are mysteries, and that we are forbidden by our religion to pry into the mysteries of God. Theosophist, no, we do not forget, but we simply reject such impossibilities. Nor do we want you to believe as we do. We only answer the questions you ask. We have another name for your mysteries. Next time, the Buddhist teachings on the above. So, a little short this week because I'm trying to catch up. But isn't that brilliant? I highly recommend not just taking what I say about it or my reading or my emphasis, but take a look at the text itself. This is not in the Living Theosophy digital bookshop. It should be soon when I get a chance to get it in there. But there's a link to the original text, so you can download that. And remember, we are in section 5. Okay, section 5, and it is on the source of the human soul, where it is the we that are we, that is observing life in this physical body. Where does that come from? Okay, and that is in the Fundamental Teachings of Theosophy on God and Prayer. So if you're just coming across this video, maybe one of the tags brought you in here, you can start with me. I begin the teachings last year. I think it might be the year before, but I try to get one out every month. I was doing two a month, but things got crazy busy. So on the platforms out there now in the world of broadcasting, as a former radio and television broadcaster, things have changed. You have Instagram, you have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have Periscope, you have YouTube. So I'm Living Theosophy on all the platforms, except on Periscope, it's a little peek into our daily lives. So you get to see what we do in between these videos and things like that. But there are theosophical lessons that I apply in my daily life that I do share on there as well. So you're welcome to join me there. The new website, she was an amazing soul who put this together, is hopefully going to be able to get you where you need to go. But remember, it's just one 52-year-old woman in England doing this out of the belief that I believe that when you become familiar with these teachings, when you apply them, when you become them, you will find an equanimity, a peaceful existence, a sense of calm and understanding and purpose. It's not anything I'm going to give you. You might find it like I did in here for me. That's the only thing I found it for me. So I'm sharing my experience with you. So maybe it might help you. 20-year-old me probably wouldn't have paid attention to this, but maybe 35-year-old me could have used some of this. I'm not sure, but I'm just glad I found it now. So I'm going to use this voice that I've been given to share these teachings. That's what I'm doing here. I'm not looking for followers. You're not following me. If you follow this channel, you're following the teachings of Theosophy. And there are other groups out there as well. Some of them are out for the best interest of humans, but I believe some of them might be in the best interest of their own pocketbook. So be careful who signs their name to these teachings. Use your nose and follow your heart. And remember that you shouldn't pay anything for them. They should always be free. Okay. So a message here from a beautiful soul. A writes, just curious about training classes and learning more about the light on the path and hoping it can help transmute me to be a better human. Well, that's a beautiful way of saying it. I would have to say, I talk about the discovery of the theosophical teachings in this book, which is, you cannot see it. It is the, it's called Yogi Philosophy, and it's available for free download on the Living Theosophy on the Living Theosophy website. I do give an introduction as to where I came across these teachings, and I was hungry to learn more. And where'd they come from? What are they? They really seem to be real. They seem to be finally what I was looking for all these years. And that book led me to the study of all of these and further application, and therefore I see their importance. I understand and I recognize they are more important than anything else I will ever do, is to help share these and get them into the digital world. So yes, there are other organizations you can study with. Just find out what works for you. If you want to stay here and study, great. But I can't do it for you. It's what you do. You are where this takes place for. You are your temple. This is the temple. It's you. And it is overcoming yourself. It's not something where you go and do my apologies if this offends anybody, but a ceremony or a ritual in front of a pulpit is not where it's at. And that's my experience. It's only my opinion. Just like belly buttons, everybody's got one. Okay. So A writes about how to help her, I believe this is a her, transmute to be a better human. That is exactly what Theosophy does. And we're going to be doing more of those. I can only do what I can. So if you're able to share this, if you're able to help as well, the audiobooks of these are available at all the global retail outlets. However, they are greatly reduced on the Living Theosophy website. And if you'd like to, any of your donations, even if it's a pound or 50 pence, it doesn't matter. It all goes into sharing these teachings with the world. So, and you also get the audiobooks at a way discounted price. Just go to the Living Theosophy website, click the support page, and you'll see them there. They're in little packages. Okay. Also, somebody writes, Andrea writes, could we please have a more in-depth lesson sharing on prayer? So yes, we can do one that is focused just on that. Especially here we have in chapter 5, we've really been covering prayer and the efficacy, the efficiency of prayer. And do Theosophists pray? That is covered in the last 2 lessons here in the Key to Theosophy book studies. So on the fundamental teachings of Theosophy on God and prayer is section 5. So if you're interested in that, please go back to the other ones. You can pick up at any time, and I'll put that in the playlist for you so you can share that with others, or you can revisit. But by all means, please be open to understanding these for yourself, okay? I'm introducing you to them. You take it from there. It's about you, not me. It's about Theosophy and you. I love you very much, and I'll see you again soon.